be discussed. However, this is something very new in this course because previously this was not included in the, I mean, the coursework, the scope of this coursework. I mean, this particular course, engineering material. So I wanted to give you some overview of nanomaterials. So that's why I decided to add two lectures on nanomaterials. So today, just introduction part, and the next lecture we will discuss about some physics and some other behavior of nanomaterials and some applications of nanomaterials. Today, just brief discussion about what is called nanomaterials and how we get those things, what is the historical background, and then how to, prepare nanomaterials in the laboratory, or how to get it from the nature. Some I mean, uh, discussions regarding such topics will be covered today. So, what is called nanomaterial? Does anyone heard about nanomaterial before starting today's lecture? Anyone? Did you heard anything about nanomaterials? Did you heard about nanotube?
Yes, it was carbon nanotube.
Carbon nanotube, right. Did you heard about graphite, graphene?
Graphene we had, sir.
Okay. So basically, once we go in depth study, we will understand that already we had some knowledge about nanomaterials before, but we did not make it as a separate topic of study. Just as a continuation of our previous knowledge, we use this material, but after 2007 to 2010, this becomes this particular this is a particularly new topic, because the size of the transistor and size of the electronic devices are getting are going I mean, the smaller and smaller day by day, and obviously those are in nanometer or angstrom scale. So you should be aware of the the effects of nanomaterial related behavioral change. So nanomaterial is a very prominent topic at this moment. There are so many nanomaterials, nanomolecules, and then their application to electronics and other things. So we should know in detail about the nanomaterials. So what is called nanomaterial? This is a substance, a material where you have, so each and every material has different dimensions, right? Height, width, or thickness. So if you decide, if you consider any material or any substance in three-dimensional space, so at least one of the dimensions should be less than 100 nanometers. You got my point? Either it is thickness, or in length, or height, or width. Either of the things should be less than 100 nanometer. So so in that particular definition, any material can be nanomaterial, provided that its critical dimension, at least one of the critical dimensions, should be less than 100 nanometer. So if a device thickness is, let's say, semiconductor device or any other device, the thickness is less than 100 nanometer altogether, or a single layer, so it can be regarded as nanomaterial. Okay, so there are some very interesting, there are not some, there are so many interesting features or unique features the nanomaterials have. For example, it has some unique optical, magnetic, electrical, and other properties. So those properties are basically due to the small miniature size. So if size is decreased to nanometer scale, uh, these properties, for example, optical properties of nanotube or quantum dot related things, those unique, they have unique optical behaviors, they have unique mechanical or magnetic behavior or electrical behavior or any other physical behavior. So that's the reason I wanted to share some uh, ideas or some other things about nanomaterials today. So this is the definition. So you may have different definitions in the book. So but the main objective is a critical dimension should be less than 100 nanometer. Any sort of dimension, length, width or thickness, whatever, but it should be less than 100 nanometer. Well, so what do you think? Nanomaterial was before in the ancient period, or all of a sudden the people invented? So in this figure, you can see we already used nanomaterial from long time back. In Roman Empire, they use a special cup, Lycurgus cup of soda lime. So this is a soda lime glass. So it has gold and silver nanoparticles, and when light is reflected through the, when light is incident light is reflected, the glass becomes green, or it appears green if light reflected, and if light is transmitted through the glass appear to be as red color. So see, nanoparticle is not a new topic. People already used nanoparticle, but they could not distinguish it as a nanoparticle. Rather, they consider is a this they consider as a material. But nanomaterials, we already used it from long time back. 2000 years ago, we the human being, they used nanomaterials, nanoparticles, silver and gold nanoparticles. Then in middle ages, for example, middle time, it's between maybe 1400 1500 century, the multicolored window or the rooftop window planes, they are made of blue colored nanoparticles, particle material. So did you see some interior of the churches in Europe? Anyone visited Europe from your from the among the students in this class, or did you see it in the TV that the windows or the rooftop of the church is made of blue colored glass or some other material? Did you see anyone? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this blue color is none other than the the nanotube, not nanotube, quantum dots. These are quantum dots, blue light emission from the quantum dots. So these particular materials, blue 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 diodes, they were used as a window material during the Middle Age era, or for 10,000, 1,000 to 1500 centuries. So more than almost 1,000 years before the people used the nanoparticles or nanomaterials to make the blue colored window made on the churches. So nanomaterials are not a new topic of explore to be explored. This is already explored topic, but people did not make it a specific category. Or even 1600 and 1700 centuries, the flexible Damascus sword. This is a flexible sword. This is very very strong, but you can bend it. So it is made of carbon nanotube and carbon iron carbide. So these nanowires were used to make the sword. The sword is very strong, yet flexible enough to bend from hilt to tip. That means you can bend it completely. So in Damascus, 1600 century and 1700 century, people used this kind of nanoparticles to make some weapons. So so in all age eras, for example, ancient era, the Middle Age era, or even uh, our nearby time, for example, 1600 and 1700 centuries, we we could have some applications of nanomaterials for different aspects. So because in previous era, people did not consider nanomaterials for medical or health or biomedical applications or anything. They just consider whatever needed at that time. So glass or the window or the sword. So at this moment, there are so many applications. We are going to focus on that, and I believe the students who will be in third year, they will consider their thesis or some other things on nanomaterials related applications. This is really good topic for their future. So I recommend all of you at least try to study a research topic based on nanomaterials. That is very good topic, and there are so many scholarships, so many funds mobilized on this particular topic. So did you remember how graphite or graphene was made? You have some, you have the pencil and you have the scotch tape, and the pencil were used to I mean gather the pencil ink on the white paper. I mean, once you write or once you draw line on the paper using your pencil, and you can measure the current. uh, you can also measure the line resistance or something using I mean, it is very simple because the graphite is conductive, right? Carbon is not conductive, but graphite is conductive. So did you see this experiment before? This is a very popular experiment, and Nobel Prize 2010 on physics was awarded on this particular graphene related research. So how graphene can be used as a conductor. So Andre game, and they maybe are Russian scientists. They Russian scientists born and brought up in USA. They invented this graphene and they got Nobel Prize. And also 2023, the Nobel Prize in chemistry was awarded for the quantum dots. So did you heard about quantum dots? So do do you know quantum dot LED TV, QLED TV? You heard about it? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
So basically, for quantum dot, Nobel Prize was awarded, and quantum dot is a it was a chemical synthesis from other materials, so that's why the Nobel Prize in chemistry was awarded. So the discovery and synthesis of quantum dot. So so you can see physics and chemistry in both cases. Uh, there are so many scopes. 2010 and 2023. That means very nearby time the people are focusing on nanomaterials. So this is really good topic for to explore. So I recommend you to study on this particular topic. So that was some historical background and what is called nanomaterials. So let's talk about uh, so you can see back to 1950, 1970 to 2050. What is the trend? Actually, the trend is you can see the size is reducing, right? So all the all the electronic size, microelectronic size is moving toward the nanometer. So if the microelectronics or electronic devices are approaching to nanometer scale, so if you see the microelectronics are going to I mean the nanometer range, nanometer. So when it is nanometer from micrometer, so it was micrometer before and it was macrometer before in back to 1950, all the devices were millimeter or macrometer, then micrometer, and now from 2010 or before that, the devices were micrometer. But you can see after 2020 or 2030, the era of nanometer started. So you cannot avoid the nanomaterials, because nanomaterial size is in nanometers, so they are suitable for nanometer scale electronics. So what are the examples of those kind of electronics? Medical electronics. So you have a biomedical course, right, in your undergrad, biomedical. So that is compulsory or optional course?
Sir, maybe it's optional.
Optional course, but in biomedical you can learn this kind of medical electronics or micro electronic applications in medical science. For example, DNA size, you know, the DNA size that is in nanometer or in angstrom. So that range is range started from micrometer. So this is micrometer range. So from 2010, I'm sorry, from 2000, this is maybe 2000. So from 2000, the size of DNA and the size of electronics are comparable. So I believe that now whatever invention is going to happen, maybe they are mostly focusing on medical applications, like biotechnology, genetic engineering, those kind of devices, biomedical devices for biomedical synthesis, biomaterial synthesis, their application to different medical or drug delivery system. Those will be in nanometer scale, and obviously using nanomaterials. So from 2050, the size becomes reduced from macrometer to back to 2000 and approaching to very small size in 2030. And the application of biotechnology increased, and they are mostly focusing the nanometer scale devices. So obviously nanomaterials are the only solution. And physics chemistry, the some cluster assembly, I mean cluster assembly means you have devices, so you integrate those devices for some application. So those kind of assembly, they are focusing they cannot increase the size of the current device, but they want to increase the capacity. So basically cluster assembly will consider nanometer scale devices and nanomaterials for those kind of devices. So if you compare the dimensions, so a volleyball dimension is in meter, right? Or the coin is also in centimeter to meter scale. However, the human hair, that is in micrometer, not micrometer, millimeter range of size. Bacteria is in micrometer, nanoparticles in nanomaterial size. The smallest substance is atom. So basically, we are approaching to atomic layer deposition for all kinds of devices, and they will consider only nanomaterials. See, the nanomaterial is from 100 nanometer to 1 nanometer. This is the nanomaterial size. So if a device or a material has a size of between 100 nanometer to 1 nanometer, you can consider those as a nanomaterial. So the future applications might be nanometer scale transistors, DNA applications, and then nanoparticles. Those are within the nanomaterial application um, range and nanometer scale. So if we consider nanomaterials for future applications, so we have to decide which kind of heterogeneous nanostructure we may use. For example, a dot, a very small quantum dot. So see, this is a dot, or a sphere, a very small sphere. A dot or circle, it doesn't have any dimension. Rather, this is a dot. So that kind of nanostructure is zero dimensional structure. We can say this is 0D. 1D means only one dimensionally it has some structure. For example, long wire nanotubes, they have one dimensional shape. Two dimensional shape is it should have a length and width. So a plane is two dimensional, and three dimensional is, let's say, a vertical house, 10 storied house. So that house has a common width, common length, and also height. So if you consider length, width, and height for any sort of assembly or cluster, that will be three dimensional. So in using nanomaterial, you can make 0D heterogeneous system, or 1D, 2D, 3D. So carbon nanotube is this is an example of one dimensional nanomaterial device. 2D is graphene based composite. 3D is mesophorus composite electrodes. So basically, um, nanomaterials, they are used for, metals, as a metal. So uh, whatever we studied in our metal, so that is completely applicable to, sorry, that is completely applicable to nanomaterial as well. Carbon nanotube, graphene nanotube, this kind of nanotube or quantum dots, they are, metals. And also the 0D means the only dots, they don't have specific length and width, so they can also be considered uh, as a metal. So the quantum dots we are using for the display and other applications, they are basically metals. So metals are used to drive something, so like driving a diode to glow. So this is important to understand. So until slide number 8, so we studied very basic and some informations regarding nanomaterials, because this is very new topic of understand. You need some understanding. So I try to elaboratively discuss those information, and also wanted to give you a hype to consider this as a future research topic. So historical overview I also provided. So until now, do you have any question? Anyone? Hello? I'm online or not? Jamil?
Sir, you can proceed forward.
Okay. Then, so what are the sources of nanomaterials? So nanomaterials are available in the nature only? Yeah, of course. You can get it from the volcanic ash or oceans, or from the ceramic, from lightning. So, or human substances, you can get it from nature, or microfibers or nanoparticles from nature. You can get those things. They are available in nature. However, So one is nature, then but incidental. It's an accidentally you can get the nanoparticle, like from paint pigment you can get the nanoparticle, or from industry there are some byproducts. Byproducts can also be nanoparticles, or from combustion engine or nanoplastics, you can get the nanoparticles. So these kind of nanomaterials are not only natural but also engineered and incidental. All of a sudden, for some incident or for some accident, you can get some nanomaterials as well. And for the engineer that you need some nanomaterial, so you synthesis by yourself in the laboratory. For example, agrochemicals, you do some synthesis to get the appropriate agrochemicals. Or solar cell, you somebody of you may be interested in MAPBI3, that kind of solar cells, like lead based solar cells, or medical biomaterials for medical applications. So all the drugs are not natural. So not all drugs are natural, so you need some biomaterials. You need some biomaterials to have some drugs or medicines. So they are engineered inside the laboratory. Or personal care products, laundry, electronics byproduct. So this kind of uh, products, you try to make it within the laboratory or within the industry. So they are engineered and desired. Whatever you need, you prepare it using some synthesis process. So how many types of nanomaterials we have? We have either we can have it from the nature, or some of the materials can be incidentally produced, or mostly we get those things from the laboratory by synthesis process. So there are some synthesis process. I'm going to explain those things, but let me briefly describe about the type of nanomaterials. So in broad category, we have three different types. One is inorganic nanomaterial, organic nanomaterial, and carbon nanomaterial. So organic and inorganic and carbon. So carbon, you already know, there are so many carbon related nanomaterials: graphene, fullerene, CNTs, carbon dots, quantum dots, something like that. But organic, they are they are compact polymers. Like there are so many organic alcoholic chains are there, so you can get these kind of organic nanomaterials. Organic nanomaterials basically used for flexible electronics. For example, you may have flexible substrate. Those are not rigid metals, rather they are not even the glass substrate. They are polyamide, or SEVS, or some other flexible substrate. These are organic nanomaterials. And in inorganic nanomaterials, they are mostly silver, gold, or copper based. If it is metal, or if it is metal halide, then zinc oxide, metal oxide or hydroxide, zinc oxide, copper oxide, then ferrous oxide, ferric oxide. So they are either metals or metal oxide, or metal hydroxides. And also metal um, some other metallic applications, for example QDs, quantum dots. So molybdenum disulfide, these are two-dimensional materials. Then bismuth selenide. So these are some metals, but special purpose metal with some sort of um, uh, secondary. Two-dimensional metals. So the best way to explain is they are 2D materials, two-dimensional materials. It has a specific length and width, and also arrangement, two-dimensional arrangements. So if I ask in the exam that how many types of nanomaterials do you have? So you may write down that we have three broad categories of nanomaterials. One is inorganic nanomaterial, second is organic nanomaterial, and third is carbon nanomaterial. So, and then you can explain each type by yourself. Okay, so you understand that what are the from where we can get the nanomaterials, and what type of structures do we have in the nanomaterials. So so they can be either 0D, 1D, 2D, or 3D. And we can get the nanomaterials from the nature or incidental or the engineered from the laboratory. And types of nanomaterial. Okay, so until this lecture number, I mean slide number 10, do you have any query? Anyone?
No, sir.
Okay, so once you reduce the size, once you reduce the size of the nanomaterial from, I mean the material from macrometer to nanometer, what kind of things can be happen? For example, electronic device, you had it in millimeter size, transistor was in millimeter size, and now it is in nanometer size, the channel length. What will happen? There should be some effect, right? There should be some size effect. So that is not, that cannot be ignored in the application of nano electronic, I mean nanoscale electronics. For example, surface effect. If a particle size is decreased, right, a greater portion of the atoms are found at the surface compared to those inside. That means তোমরা যখন একটা একটা পার্টিকেলের সাইজটা ডিক্রিজ করতেছো, once you decrease the size of the particle, for example nano particle, silver nano particle, gold nano particle, what will happen? A greater portion of atoms, the total number of atoms, among those atoms, majority of the atoms will be found at the surface. But it was not the same as if the atomic sorry the particle size is very big. In that particular time, all the atoms should be or might be distributed, I mean very precisely, I mean uniformly within the nanoparticle. But when the size is reduced, then a greater portion will be found at the surface of, compared to the inside. That means in the inside part of the nanoparticle, the atoms are not there. They are almost empty. The inner part of the nanoparticle will be empty. There will be no atom inside or very few atom inside. Rather, the atoms are located or gathered outside the core, and it will be uh, at the surface area. So see, this can this definitely governs the electrical property of that particular nanoparticle, of that particular material, right? So size is an effect. So surface, if you reduce the size of the nanomaterial, so definitely surface has some effect. So if the nanoparticle size is 30 nanometer, the material size is 30 nanometer, 5% atoms on the surface. But if it is 10 nanometer, more than 20% of the atoms in the surface. And when the material size is 3 nanometer, 50% of the atom will be at the surface of that particular material. So you can imagine that if you reduce the size of the nanoparticle by 10 times, you are increasing the number of atoms similarly 10 times larger at the surface area. See, this is very straightforward linear relationship. Once you reduce the size, the possibility of getting atoms at the surface also linearly increased. So size reduced by 10 times, atoms at the surface also increased by 10 times. You understand? Surface will have many number of atoms once the size of the particle is reduced. This is important. So it will really govern the electrical behavior of the material. Also, once you, so among the students in this class, Some of you, maybe one group was assigned on the quantum confinement defect, right? Two-dimensional electron gas. Who? Anyone? This is one of the topics for the presentation. I remember some of you maybe decided to work on the quantum confinement. Am I right? So, okay, so quantum confinement effect, when you reduce the size of the atom, I mean the material, once you reduce the material, see in the below figure. So here, you reduce the size of the nanoparticle. See, the gold nanoparticle, the size is reduced from here to here. You can see the color of the quantum dot. The color is different. From female students. Hello.
Yes, sir.
So do you understand why the color is changed? Different color for different size of the material, same material but different size. So the color, the this color, this kind of color is basically ejected or generated from the material. So, and there are some I mean the optics, in optics, once you once the material absorb the color or transmit the color, their properties are changed. So that means the nanoparticle is, the size has great influence on the color of that particular material. So basically all the material should have a band gap, right? You remember what was called band gap? The energy difference between conduction band and valence band, right? So when you reduce the size of the material, so they also impacted on the band gap. Their band gap is changed, and once the magnitude is approximately comparable with um, the the light source, then they have a great influence on the color emission. So color emission, light emission is, this is a quantum mechanics, right? In the emission of the color, basically it is losing some energy, the material itself losing some energy. So the energy, if it is invisible light rays, we can detect the color in our eyes. So that means the transmitted energy is different for this particular nanomaterial than this particular nanomaterial, right? The emission is different for this one and this one. So basically the band gaps are changing, and the energy of the emission all from that material is also changing. So that's why we can have different colors. So this is a beauty, right? You did not understood before. I mean, for gold, 1 gram gold and 100 gram gold, you can expect, you should expect that that should be the same, right? But in nanomaterial point of view, a miniature size really matter for its electrical and optical behavior. So this is a good example. So if somebody interested in this kind of study, this is really good study, how to change the color based on the size of the material. So please consider this kind of study in future. So how can we get the nanomaterials within the laboratory? So here we studied that a majority portion of the nanomaterials are from laboratory. Those are engineered by the scientists, right, or engineers. They produce it within the laboratory. So how? So there are two approaches. One is called top down, one is top down, and another one is bottom top. So top down means you have a very big material, bulk material, and you make it powder. So you just grind it, so you can get the powder. Then from powder you can produce the nanoparticles. So this is one way to achieve the nanomaterials within the laboratory. However, top approach means you have a very small precursor or atom or molecules. You just confine those things, you add all the atoms and molecules to make it bigger or larger. So from top bottom means very small particles, then you, I mean the atoms, and then you merge it to make it bigger, I mean cluster, and from cluster you can get the nanoparticle. So two things, these two approaches are very popular, not only for nanomaterial synthesis but also for many other applications. Either you have a very big I mean, for example, in the bank the final product is coin, metallic coin. So either you make the metallic coin from the metals in the laboratory and give a symbol and make it for example for Bangladesh. So you have some specific weight type of material, then symbols you add to get the coin. So this is basically the coin from from that particular metals. Or you have a very big amount of money, cash, paper cash, then you make it, you can get the small cash and then you can convert that into coins. So this is how basically two approaches, top down and bottom top, for they are applicable for economics, they are applicable for chemical synthesis, they are applicable for physical methods, biological methods, some um, uh, AI, ML tools. There's so many applications you can get this kind of approaches. So I would like to get the difference between those two approaches. So you know already. So we can say top-down approach is called the physical approach, where you make a from a big or bulk material, you just get the small size nanomaterials. So this is a physical method. And bottom top means you have chemicals or atoms, molecules, and from there, using some chemical synthesis process, you can achieve the nanomaterial. So they are mostly chemical method, plus a portion should be also physical method. So so the main difference is in the process. So very simple process is physical process, and complicated process is chemical process. So advantages you already know. You can say the physical process is large scale production is possible, deposition over a large substrate is possible. So if you want to get a very big chunk of iron, so you don't need to worry about the size or dimension, because small size is important for, you need some precision, but large size deposition and bulk production, you don't need to worry about the precision. And purification is not also required for large volume I mean deposition. However, in what they have some disadvantages. For example, size distribution is disadvantage, various particle shape, because once you have big size production, you don't need to worry about the uh, particle shape. You- they can be randomly generated shapes, but in bottom top approach, you should consider that kind of shape precision as well. But in a physical method, there is no way to control the shape of the nano particles. So this is a disadvantage. So if you look at the slide number 15, if you read the slide number 15, you can understand the differences between two. So basically the main difference is physical method and chemical method. So one is from atom to nanoparticle, another one is bulk material to nanomaterial. So this is very easy way to understand and remember. And so not all the materials are in either atomic size or in bulk size. Rather it could be gaseous phase as well. So from gaseous phase of the nanomaterial, you can use some evaporator, then you do the clustering process. So from evaporator, you evaporate that particular material to get the gaseous cluster in the from the atmosphere, and then from atmosphere you collected those. For example, so in your chemistry study in your high school or college, so you had a sodium chloride uh, solution with water, right? You did and how to separate the sodium chloride from water. So did you do that kind of experiment in your chemistry,
So we
Jamil,
did
in college?
evaporating with copper sulfate maybe.
You did for copper sulfide, sodium chloride, copper sulfide. Okay, so actually, so once you have that kind of solution, it is very very difficult to separate the water and also the that particular material. So what we need to do, we need to evaporate. And so the vapor will generate, and then you condense the vapor to get the um, you separate the material. So uh, that particular condensation happened using cold plates. So this is how, based on the evaporation method or gaseous phase method, you convert your material into nanoparticles. Okay. And solution gel phase. So you have some solution, you have some gel are basically they are organic, and solution means you already know what is called solution. So for the gels, you have different process to synthesis, compression. So you can see the gel has a very irregular shape and also not so dense. The density is very less, so you have to do some suppression. So suppress those gel, you can get the a very condensed gel and deposit it on the ceramic. So this particular synthesis process, this is not important for you. I just wanted to add an example that the process can be either physical or chemical, and also gaseous phase and solution gel phase as well. That two different, you have two different material, and then you combine those. One material is solution based material, another material is gel based material. So for solution based material, you have a different way to remove the solution, the liquid from the material. And for the gel, so you also have some method to make it more condensed and then deposit it on the ceramic, and the solution deposited on the thin film substrate. This is a thin film coating. And also from solution one part, so one is liquid phase will be deposited on the thin film, and the powder phase, how to get the another material from here from the solution. You can get it by some other synthesis method, so they will produce the powder. So from solution you can get either thin film coating or you can make the powder. So this is one of the example of complex phase nanomaterials. So we I try to give some overview of different types of nanomaterial synthesis. So mostly everywhere the top down approach take place. So people try this physical method rather than chemical method, because chemical method are this kind of approach, synthesis approach, are expensive, and also they are very complicated one. And also if the material is in gaseous phase, how to collect those and get the nanoparticles. And if it is a complex phase, for example, solution and gel phase, how to separate the materials and get the required nanoparticles. So this is an overview. And applications point of view, so there are so many applications of nanomaterials: biomedical and health applications, construction materials. There are also some construction materials. So do you know the the planes, aeroplane? So their body is also not composite. They are nanoparticles. So they are very strong. They are very strong because they are made of nanomaterials. Electronics and energy storage, different battery materials, they are nanomaterials at these days. Environmental remediation, then food packaging, storage, and agriculture, we have some applications. Renewable energy, we have some applications, for example, making solar cell using different nanomaterials. So this is one of the very good examples and area of research. So mostly nanoparticles are silver, gold, and platinum nanoparticles. So there are applications like using composites. You can use those for packaging, or nanomaterials for biosensors, then genetic engineering, gene therapies. Those things are some different sensor applications might be using the nanoparticles. And yeah, of course, there are so many other applications. So uh, the more you study this topic uh, with interest, you will find a new application. So there are so many applications at this moment, and future possible applications are there. So you need to go through with huge interest. You can if you sincerely try, then you can get a very good topic as well. Okay, and this particular slide, I will describe next class, that basic properties of nanomaterials. So today we just give the introduction part, and properties like mechanical properties of nanomaterials, thermal properties, some other electrical properties, magnetic properties, and optical properties. These are important properties of materials, because once you have a new material, then definitely you should test these basic properties before implementing those in the electronics or other applications. So you need to have a set of such experimental setup for mechanical properties, thermal properties, melting properties, electrical properties, magnetic properties. So these properties should be demonstrated and studied before you incorporate this material for electronic applications. Yeah, that's today. I think this is the last slide. And if it um, can stimulate you to go further study, I think my I mean a small step or uh, is beneficial, because this is you don't understand maybe at this moment, but this is huge topic to be explored. Okay, so please study by yourself, so it will help you a lot to find a very good research topic in future. Thank you. So that's all for today. Do you have any comment or question for today's topic?
No, sir.
So okay, so I remember I gave one topic to a group of students on quantum confinement, but nobody came forward to say, "Sir, I'm doing that." What happened? Okay, so please inform me next class who were assigned the quantum confinement. Okay, two-dimensional electron gas or two-dimensional hole gas. Okay, Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.